Okay, what if I told you that one of the most ancient and famous rivers in the entire world, the Nile, was on the verge of having its course completely rerouted? And no, not by nature. We're talking about a massive, behind-the-scenes political plan. Let's get into what's being claimed here.
It honestly sounds like something straight out of a movie, doesn't it? But according to the source material for this isn't some far-off what-if scenario. It's a very real question that is reportedly being debated in secret meetings right now. A plan to literally change where the Nile River ends its journey.
And boom, here's the claim that kicks this whole thing off. The source starts with this absolutely stunning statement. It frames this whole thing not as a crazy idea, but as a plan that's already started moving. I mean, that's a sentence designed to grab your attention, and it really sets the stage for a huge story of political pressure and unbreakable red lines.
All right, so let's dig into what is being described as a secret project. According to what we've read, this isn't just an idea being tossed around. Nope. This is a formal proposal that's been delivered to Cairo, and it's forcing some very serious conversations at the highest levels of government.
So, the way the story goes, it all kicks off when a high-level U.S. envoy shows up in Cairo, and they're not there for a friendly chat. They've brought a deal, a heavy one, that's being described as something Egypt wants absolutely nothing to do with. The fact that these talks are even happening tells you just how serious the push behind this idea really is.
Okay, so what is this massive plan they're pushing? Well, it's really a two-part deal. It combines a gigantic infrastructure project with an equally gigantic economic payoff. We're talking about a plan that would literally redraw the map of who gets what resources in the region.
So here's how it would work step by step. Instead of flowing into the Mediterranean like it always has, the plan is to divert one of the Nile's main branches, the Damietta branch. From there, a brand new pipeline would snake across the Sinai Peninsula. The first stop would be to bring water to the Palestinians in Gaza, and then the pipeline would continue on to its final destination, Israel. Now you gotta look at how they're selling this thing. The official line, the big hook, is that it's all about peace, creating prosperity for everyone, and of course, a huge humanitarian gesture for Gaza. It's being presented as a total win-win for the region.
And to make a deal this big go down, there has to be a huge economic carrot, right? Well, here it is. In exchange for the water, the proposal includes creating the biggest free trade and industrial zone in history, running the entire length of this new pipeline. We're talking factories, jobs, and a level of development that's just off the charts.
Right. A plan this huge doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. The story being told here is that this is more than a proposal. It's a full-on pressure campaign. So let's look at who's pushing for this and what kind of leverage they're using to make it happen. So you've got two things happening at once here. On one side, the source points to Israel's very real water crisis. Their old water sources just aren't cutting it anymore, and even with most of their drinking water already coming from desalination, it's still not enough. Then, on the other side, you have the reported leverage from the U.S. The source calls politics a give-and-take bazaar, and the biggest bargaining chip on the table seems to be the controversial Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam.
And this is where, according to the source, the quiet part gets said out loud. This alleged quote, attributed to Donald Trump, is presented as the ultimate threat. The implication is clear. The U.S. is claiming it was key to building the dam, so it can influence what happens with it, for good or for bad, all depending on whether Egypt plays ball.
But hold on, because the water is only part one of this deal. There's apparently a second, incredibly sensitive demand. The U.S. wants to pull its military forces back from Africa and would prefer a cheaper, regional partner to protect its interests there. And the ask? For the Egyptian army to take on that job. It's a role that, as the source puts it, Cairo sees as its army being put up for rent. So, faced with this incredible two-part demand, water and military, how did Egypt react? Well, the source is crystal clear on this. It's a story about drawing hard lines in the sand that you just don't cross. You see, Egypt's rejection of the water deal, from a technical standpoint, boils down to one simple hard number. The UN says that if you have less than 1,000 cubic meters of water per person per year, you're in a state of water poverty. Well, Egypt is already way below that line. So from their perspective, there's just no water to give, period. And that brings us to this powerful, unambiguous statement that pretty much sums up Egypt's entire position. It's a flat-out no to both parts of the deal, and it's a no that's rooted in something much deeper than just data. It's about national sovereignty. And it's not just an emotional no. Their rejection is apparently backed by some really solid logic. First, their own water shortage is very real. Second, there's a powerful national belief that the Nile's place is in Egypt. They're also worried that if they sell their water, it would give Ethiopia a green light to do the same. Plus, they point out they already help Gaza with water projects, in line with being a good neighbor. So the message they're sending is, this isn't a negotiation, it's a final answer. You know, what we're really looking at here is more than just a political disagreement. The source presents this as a fundamental clash of worldviews. It's a high-stakes chess match where the two sides are basically playing by completely different sets of rules.
And this right here gets to the absolute core of the conflict. You've got the deal-maker's mindset, which sees everything in terms of assets, numbers, and what you can get in return. It's transactional. Then you have the civilization's mindset, which is all about history, identity, and the future of a nation. For one side, it's a negotiation. For the other, it's about who you are.
So with all this pressure, what's Egypt's game plan? According to the source, it's all about playing the long game. The strategy is to slow everything down, anchor their position in international law, and keep reinforcing their role as a force for stability in the region, but on their own terms, not as someone else's agent.
And there's a quote from the source material that just nails this entire conflict perfectly. It captures that core tension between two totally different ways of seeing the world. One mind sees a spreadsheet, and the other sees a legacy.
And really, that's the question this whole story leaves us with. In a world where it feels like everything is for sale, where politics so often looks like a marketplace, it forces you to ask, what, if anything, is truly priceless?